Okay. All right. I'm going to try this again. I got a weird message on my screen as I was starting to chat. So if anybody's here, give me a thumbs up so I know that this is live and I don't go ramble on with this teaching for 45 minutes and then find out it wasn't live. Maybe I could look here. Hold on. Let me look here on Facebook. Sorry. And see if I see me live. Okay, gosh, you guys. So maybe all of you are just still hanging out with Thanksgiving. So let me get back here and jump right back in. Hi, Revolutionary Love. I'm Barb Beck. I'm just saying hi here and giving some basics because we have so many new people who have been asking me about this. So I'm a 21-year relationship coach and work with individuals, just a handful of private clients, one-on-one. Speak around the country on all things love and relationship. If you're interested in bringing me to your city to do a talk, I do a Revolutionary Love Q&A evening salon, which is really fun. It's so much fun. It's one of my favorite things to do. And also talk on all kinds of things. Right here every Wednesday at 11 Pacific time, I do a live stream on all kinds of different topics. All things love and relationship, from single ready to date again, how to do that consciously, to issues going on in a marriage or a long-term relationship. We've done recently, but I love him. What about when all these requirements are not met in a relationship and yet, you know, at the end somebody says, especially a woman, but I love him, I don't want to leave. Midlife crisis stuff, all kinds of great topics. And I love your input about what you want teachings on. So send me at barb@coachbeck.com any thoughts you have about what's helpful. If you haven't signed up for my newsletter yet, please make sure that you do that. Go to revolutionarylove.com and there's a place to click just to sign up for my newsletter. What you'll get with that is a free copy of my little book. I'll reach it over there. Love, Sex, and the Spiritual Path as a PDF download. And then you will hear from me every week about offerings that are going on. Last week we had such a good time and I gave away 6 pretty awesome gifts just to celebrate Thanksgiving and everything that I'm grateful for and all of you that I'm grateful for. So it's really fun. So I want you to be kept in on those kinds of fun things and where I'm speaking and what's going on. And then I give in my newsletter, besides these live streams, a lot of really good tips and tools, skills, lots of good information in the newsletter too that you can read later. So today we're jumping in and we're going to talk a little bit about, the topic is peacemaking, conflict, and how to get that just overall general sense of ick kind of out of our lives, especially right now as we move in to the holidays. I've been hearing, if you got my newsletter, and I may read a couple here, I've been hearing just so many comments for the last couple of weeks about I'm bracing myself for a conflict. I guess I'm going to have a confrontation about this with my spouse. All kinds of ways that people seem to be bringing back in some forms of protection. And so I'm getting some thumbs up on that. Before I go into this teaching, could you do me a favor? Today's kind of weird on here. I can't see anybody on here. I can't see any comments if you're making them. I just saw 1 thumbs up. I'm not sure what's happening. If somebody's here, could you just post a comment? I can't actually, where normally I see your comments and your names rolling, I can't see anything today. So it's kind of weird, but I just saw a thumbs up. Okay, strange. I'm going to go ahead anyway. All right, so let's dive into this. Okay, thank you. Got a heart and stuff. I guess you're here. Oh, okay. So there's one. Hey, Maria, thank you for doing that. I'm glad you're here. Okay, so I know we're live then. I was worried about it. All right, let's jump in then. Hi, Audrey. Hey, Brenda. Good. That's so weird. I wasn't seeing anybody's names. Okay, I'm going to get over it. Okay, let's jump in right now. And here's where I want to start with this whole topic. We had a great conversation going on Facebook when I posted this earlier about, conflict, confrontation, peacemaking, all that kind of thing. We had some really good comments and some conversations going. So I really wanted to deepen this today. And here's where I want to start with this. I was going to start with talking about peacemaking because, especially with women, so many women tell me, well, I'm the peacemaker in the family, or I try to be the peacemaker. And a good friend of mine actually had a good comment on there, and she said, well, but what do you think, Barb? I want to be a peacemaker. I like that about myself. One of the things that I've committed to is leading with peace in my life. And so I think that's a really important thing to talk about. And I'm going to loop back to that because that's really, really important. Where I'm going to start today, though, is with a mindset, because I'm always and forever talking about mindsets, and a couple of conversations that I've had with clients this week, okay? So let's start. When we talk about conflict, when we talk about confrontation, and I'm hearing things like, I wrote these in my newsletter, I'm hearing things from you in these last few days like, I hate conflict and I wish we could just respect our differences. I'm nervous about attending this because I'm sure there will be a conflict. It's a good thing I'm the peacemaker in our family so somebody can navigate the inevitable conflict. I'm bracing myself for a conflict, but I need to express how I feel to him. Why can't things just go along smoothly in my life? I hate conflict and I get so tired of trying to deal with it. Okay, I'm hearing those things. I hear them regularly, but I'm especially hearing them during this holiday time. And then in terms of confrontation, here's some of the things that I've been hearing for the last couple of weeks, okay? And maybe you guys have said some of these things to me. I'm going to confront, so when we're thinking about dealing with things out there, I'm going to confront my boss about wanting a raise as we go into the new year. Looks like I'm going to have to confront my partner about going to this holiday party. There's always a confrontation with the kids about their homework, and I'm exhausted. Okay, I'll confront her so that we can all go to a new place for spring break this year. We might have a confrontation if we disagree on our next step, so I'm going to be prepared. Okay, these are things that I'm hearing regularly. Here's the point that I'm trying to make and where I want us to start. Why do we use the word conflict? Why do we use the word confrontation all the time? Did you notice on a couple of those last ones, like this one, I'm going to confront, I just had this said to me. This client of mine is thinking about, really asking for a very well-deserved raise this year. She hasn't been ready to do that. But here's the sentence. I'm going to confront my boss about wanting a raise as we go into the new year. Does confront need to be the word? Is that what's going on here? To me, that doesn't make sense. And what I find, and I'm saying this because I spent until my early 30s doing this, and I explain this in my newsletter, and I'll come back and explain a little more. So I know this one well. Why do we think that we need to sort of brace ourselves for a conflict or a confrontation any time that we decide we want to have a conversation or a discussion about something? It's fascinating. If you say, oh, I don't think I do that, I want you to watch your words, watch your tone, that's a big one, and watch your body language. It's a fascinating thing. Because if we have any kind of underlying fear or anxiety about having a conversation with somebody, our partner, we will hold the mindset that there's a possibility that this is going to be a conflict. So let's take the person who said, I'm going to confront my boss about wanting a raise as we go forward into the new year. Obviously, my client is concerned that this person is going to get in an argument with her. I know this is my client, and I know that this boss is argumentative. And you can hear, though, in what she's saying, She is ready for a conflict in asking for a raise. But what happens, you guys? What happens when we go into any conversation or discussion with the mindset that we're pretty sure that there's going to be a conflict? Can't you feel that energy from somebody? Let's talk about a partner, okay? We've all been there. Let's talk about a partner who comes in and God forbid says that lovely, we need to talk. Let's say they come in and they say the right words like, I'd like to discuss what happened yesterday when we had that conversation. I'd like to talk about vacation this summer, whatever. And there's been a little rub before. What happens when they come in and the tone of their voice has kind of an edge in it? What happens when they come in and their body language is closed? Maybe they're crossing their arms like this, or their face, they don't even realize it, is doing this. What happens when the energy that they're holding when they come to speak to you seems protective? Human nature, what do you do? What do you naturally do? You feel uncomfortable, right? You go, uh-oh, what's happening here? I think we might get into an argument around this. So this is where I want us to start. I want us to first start and look at ourselves. Always, you hear me say this about everything, everything, everything. The work that we do is not looking out there at the other person or the situation or the circumstance and try to say, ooh, okay, this thing usually ends up as a confrontation. I wonder how I can get them to change. The only thing you ever need to do is look at yourself and say, what am I bringing to the table? How am I showing up? And what we're talking about here with conflict or confrontation is when I come to the table around any kind of discussion, any kind of conversation, what is the energy that I am personally bringing? Is it one that holds a wall of protection and conveys a message that I am bracing myself for a possible argument with you? Because I don't know about you, but in my life, when I have done that from my end, it is almost assured that this thing is going to go south pretty quick and turn into an argument. And I'm saying, believe it or not, that this is a lot because of you and your presence and your energy and what you're bringing to it. Now, I know right now some of you are saying, oh, no. This person I'm dealing with always turns everything into a conflict. Okay, we're going to get there. But you know that's not where we start, correct? If you're part of my Revolutionary Love Posse here, damn it, give me a heart or a thumbs up. Tell me that you know, after our work together, either with me personally or you being part of these live stream teachings, tell me that you know that the place, thank you, the place we start with anything, always, is turning right back to ourselves and doing self-reflection and say, it starts with me, how am I showing up? What am I bringing to this conversation? Because it is absolutely amazing what can change, what can happen in these conversations when we show up differently, calmly, centered, no walls of protection all the way up to here where we're peeking over, without the edgy tone, without the fear in our voice, without the body language that conveys, oh my God, I'm ready for an argument. Okay? That's where we start. And I said I was going to loop back here really quickly. I know this one so well because I spent until my early 30s, which you've heard me say when I hit rock bottom, landed my Buttinsky into therapy and spent 4 solid years there, healing, waking up, and learning these skills and tools, learning about boundaries and that kind of thing. I spent all of that time with a low-grade anxiety and basically moving through my life scared. Nobody knew it. I was a strong woman. I conveyed that I was strong, Everybody who dealt with me thought I had my shit together and that I was strong. And people said to me all the time in my 20s, God, I wish I could be more like you. You got it together. You don't take shit off anybody. Oh my God. You guys, it couldn't have been further from the truth. And all that was going on was because of my crazy childhood of years of unpredictability and pain. I was one scared person. So when I was talking on here earlier about one of the things that we're going to address is how do you also get rid of just that sort of low-grade constant ick that you feel? You know, I think a lot of you have told me that you feel like I used to feel, where life just feels like it's always just kind of, you know, throwing you a curveball, and you always feel a little bit of low-grade anxiety or concern or worry that someone's going to end up mad at you, or this friendship, suddenly somebody's going to get upset about something you said or did, or in your partnership that all of a sudden something's going to go south, or you're going to get into an argument or a power struggle. If you're constantly feeling that, I know what that feels like. And I am telling you, it is unnecessary. What you don't have, what you're not, either you don't have the skills or tools, or you're not feeling confident around, is your ability to calmly stay strong in the face of anything going on, and to be able to set clear, calm, swift boundaries with others. Okay? I'm going to stop here. I want to see. It looks like maybe I've got a question. Maria says, yep, children of alcoholics unite. I know. And that's what a lot of this is. We all have many things going on in our childhood, or you guys, this doesn't have to be a childhood. You could have the last relationship that you've spent 6 years in that has suddenly had you start to show up with these habits or patterns, okay? It doesn't have to be just be childhood, but definitely, you know, if you're a child of an alcoholic, look at this and see that fear of conflict, that way that we sweep things under the rug or try to be a peacemaker is so, so common. You throw on some extra stuff, like I had a very mentally unstable father who was very unpredictable and a narcissist and would just fly off the handle at the drop of a hat. Whatever our stories are, most of us are really, really fearful of anything that smacks of conflict or confrontation. And hear me, what I want you to take away from this right now is, regardless of that fear, regardless of that it's legitimate concern and the way that you're moving through the world, I don't want that for you. I know what that felt like to have a knot in my stomach 24/7. I don't want that for you, and I'm telling you it's unnecessary. I really mean that. And the place to start is to notice it and watch. I just want you to watch for the next week until our next live stream, okay? I want you to watch for the next week. On an average day, how worried and concerned are you about your interactions and just everyday discussions with people? How worried and concerned? Watch if you tell yourself, oh, I don't care, I'm not worried about that. But if you have a knot in your stomach, or if you're watching the other person to see, did they like what I said? If you're attaching to the approval or the validation of others, I know it's a sad face. That's just simply fear. That's our fear. And the fear comes from us not believing that we have the inner strength or the resilience to be able to take care of ourselves, to be able to take a stand for ourselves, to be able to calmly speak up for ourselves and set boundaries, to use that 4-step boundary process: inform, ask, tell, consequence. If we don't think that we can tell somebody no, or stop, or I don't like where this conversation's going, or I simply don't like the tone that you're using with me, and I would like to pause and stop until we can have a kind, respectful conversation, if you don't feel you have the ability, the willingness, the bravery, or the skills to do that, do you not see how you're then going to just simply move through the world with this overall sense of ick, concern, anxiety, and fear? Does that make sense? Okay, that's where we start. You've got to do two things. You've got to have enough self-love and self-confidence that you know that you have the right to be treated well and talked to respectfully. Let me say that again. You have to cultivate enough self-love, a high sense of self-worth, and take a stand for yourself so that you know that you have the right in any moment to ask or demand that anyone dealing with you speaks to you respectfully and with a kind tone. I know! Yay, hearts for that. But easier said than done. If you work on that self-love and build that self-confidence until you truly, truly believe you can stand there around anyone and say, I have the right to ask for that and to demand that, and if I don't get it, I have the right to set boundaries, end a conversation, walk away from a conversation, pause from a conversation, revisit a conversation at another time. When you truly get to the place that you say, I believe this with my whole heart, it will be easy to then use the boundaries, because the second piece is then you need to know how to use the boundary process and what it sounds like. Inform, ask, tell, consequence. And then mean it, that you can unhook from the need for this person's approval, from their anger, if they're angry that you're ending this conversation, if they're hell-bent on turning this discussion into an argument, a confrontation, a conflict, a blame, criticism, whatever. If some people, and that's where I'm going to shift to now, no matter what you do, if you are with someone who is hell-bent on falling into an argument, a confrontation, or a conflict, blame, or criticism, there's nothing you're going to be able to do about that. And guess what? You don't need to. Because why? What they do is none of your business. Take that in. What somebody else does or says, I don't even care if it's hurtful to you. Think about this. What somebody else does or says is not your business. Another person gets to act any way that they want to. For many people, that's a hard thing to take in. If you really take it in, I know, it's huge. If you really take it in, guess what? Even your anger goes away with this person who's yelling or screaming or calling your names or blaming you or whatever it is. If you really take in two things, self-love, I have a right to take a stand for myself and my life and create a joyful, happy life of peace and calmness with myself. And what you do and how you act and what you choose is not only not my concern, but it's none of my business. It's not my business to tell you how you should be acting in the world, or that you're not acting well, or that you're not being disrespectful. It's only your business to speak up and say, I don't like that, and I'm not going to engage in these kinds of conversations or dynamics. If we're going to have a conversation, you'll need to shift that. But we're not having a conversation. Okay, you can go ahead and do what you want. Because the only person that we have control over is who, my friends? Come on, somebody write it right there. We have control over who? Ourselves. That's it. You have no control over anybody else. And the reason that you've got that overall low-grade anxiety, fear, is because, right, Maria, ourselves, is because we fall into the fear because we believe that we've got to go out here then and start to try to get somebody else to change or to deal with us better or to not get into an argument with us, or we do that dance. I'm going to do this dance of kind of dancing around and make sure I don't upset this person, or make sure that I don't say this that might upset them, make sure I do say this that would make them happier. And you're focusing outside of yourself. And how crazy is that if we really understand that while I'm focusing outside of myself and trying to do a dance that might change your behavior, that I realize that I only have control over one thing, and that's me. So how crazy is that what we're doing then? If you're admitting that you only have control over you, but you're doing some dance over here trying to change somebody, madness. Okay. So let's go back and talk about that when I said this dance that we do. And yes, many of us as child of alcoholics fall into this, peacekeeping, peacemaker mode. One of the things somebody asked me about or put on Facebook when we talked about it was, she was saying, I like the part of me that I have labeled peacemaker. She said, what do you think about that, Barb? I actually want to be a peacemaker. And I really liked how she was explaining it. I'm all for us being peacemakers in our own world and in our circles, in our community. I'm all for us being peace keepers, peace holders, okay? Peace holders, holding sacred space. Hey, Seth, gosh, I'm glad you're here. I'm talking about peacemaking and conflict. I'm all for us being peacekeepers, peacemakers, holding sacred space with our partners, our families, our friends, when we gather together, and really being a peaceful presence, I guess, is what I would say peacekeeping is to me. The problem I have with that word peacekeeping is that so many people fall into the mindset of, I am simply trying to keep the peace here with all of us so that an argument doesn't get started. I'm trying to keep the peace here because, that's my role in the family. These two always get into it, and I try to rush in and try to smooth things over for everybody. I'm in a partnership, and I can feel this thing starting to fire up. My partner's starting to get wound up, starting to get into an argument with me or a power struggle. My job in this relationship is to keep the peace. I step back, I calm down, I just, smooth things over. You guys, that's not peacekeeping. That's not healthy peacekeeping and holding peaceful space for people. You guys, that's called codependence. That's called caretaking. And that's not your job. Dancing around someone else so that you're not showing up authentically, telling the full truth, being able to speak up if something's not okay with you, being able to set boundaries and stop a conversation that you don't want to have because somebody is falling into blame or criticism or being disrespectful in the way that they're dealing with you, you backing off and shutting your mouth and being quiet and tolerating that is not, in my estimation, is not being a peacekeeper. That's being codependent and being a caretaker, or simply falling into fear and not having the skills or tools or inner strength or bravery or courage to be able to speak your truth and let the chips fall where they may. I get it. I know it's scary. I spent years in that place. I spent years in that place with a family member who I tolerated such disrespectful behavior that I look back now and I can't even believe it. I can't even believe it. But I set that dynamic up by being scared to death as a child of an alcoholic to speak up and have this person be mad at me and have it maybe get worse. Until I came to the end of my rope. And it wasn't just come to the end of my rope, and had learned that there was a way that I could set really clear boundaries with that boundary process, which I keep speaking about today. 4-step, inform, ask, tell, consequence. Okay? Once you do that, your relationships will change. So when we talk about the question that I said we would discuss quickly today, what about peacekeeping? Is there ever a good time to be a peacekeeper? Is there ever a good time to let something just, fall right off your shoulders? Is there ever something healthy about not speaking up or causing an argument or whatever? The only way I would say that sometimes that's a good idea, let's say the letting something roll off your shoulders, is if, let's say in your relationship, somebody says something with a little bit of an irritable tone in their voice. Oh my God, do we have to make an argument out of everything? Do we have to take a stand on everything? If you're going to do that, and be around human beings in your life, you're going to constantly be saying, oh my God, don't take that tone with me. Oh, you seem irritable. We're not going to have this conversation. What that shows to me is extreme sensitivity. I would like all of us to be a little more resilient than that. There's a big, big difference in being a good, solid, healthy partner who can let small things roll off your shoulders, who can make maybe a joke out of something in a healthy way, not a joke, a dig, and just say, oh, okay, I see we're having a bit of a hard day, and put your arms around your partner and hug them or something. There's a difference between kind of picking your battles and not making what they, as they call it, a mountain out of a molehill. That to me is a sign of maturity. And in mature love, you have to know that you're living with another human being and things are going to happen. Okay. The difference between somebody being irritable, thanks, Seth. Let me look and see what Seth said. Okay, thanks so much, Seth. Yay! There's a difference between somebody being irritable, a family member saying something, that you sort of go, okay, well, I don't think I agree with that. And maybe they're just feeling kind of passionate or even maybe a little edgy about it. And the line being crossed, I always say use the line of respect. There's a big difference between that line being crossed where someone is starting to speak to you disrespectfully. And you've got to know the difference. You can't be so sensitive that you say someone's irritation is being disrespectful. But someone really being disrespectful to you, throwing out a really crappy comment, giving you a dig, being really sarcastic with you, and when you ask it to stop or you call somebody on it and they don't stop or they make fun of you or this thing keeps going on, you know that that's not okay. You know it's not. So, yes, there are times that we want to make sure that we do a check-in and say, am I just being so sensitive that I'm running around calling everybody on everything when they're just showing up, as somebody who might have had a bad day? A big difference between that and regular, disrespectful, unkind behavior that you're saying, I have no interest in having these kinds of people or interactions in my life. I want you to have people in your life who know how to sit down with you and maybe have an uncomfortable, challenging conversation, but can bring their full yourself to this conversation and be respectful and focus on a solution. That you guys are looking at coming up with a solution, being a team, whether it's partners, friends, colleagues, whatever it is, that you're together able to focus on the outcome that you want, the solution that you're going for, and can do that even if you're uncomfortable and you disagree, by honoring the differences, talking through things, and doing it in a respectful, kind, calm, direct way. And if you find yourself in a situation where you can't, be the one to call that, to say, whoa, I think we need to take a pause here because I'm feeling uncomfortable. The way you're talking to me does not feel okay. I would like to take a pause. Maybe let's take a walk. Maybe let's take a break. Maybe let's agree to revisit this tomorrow when we can sit down and actually be calm and do this in a respectful way and focus on a solution. Okay, be the leader in that. Be the leader in that. So I think we've kind of gone through what I was going to talk about. Let me just make sure that I look here and see what else I said we were going to discuss. Yeah, I think we've talked about most of it. That's how we focus on getting that overall ick feeling out of our lives. Let me just recap. We go back always, as I always say, and stop looking out there at what the other person's doing, and we turn it back to ourselves and say, if I'm feeling an overall ick, low grade anxiety feeling all the time, that means that I'm walking through my world assuming that every interaction and conversation is going to possibly end up as a conflict or a confrontation. So, recap, we change our mindset first and make sure that we're not walking around with walls of protection, that people feel that kind of energy from us, that we are tiptoeing around or bracing ourselves for arguments or confrontations. If you move through the world assuming the best about everything, it's amazing how conversations can go better and can go well, because we have a positive, powerful influence over other people when we are calm and open-minded and open-hearted. So that's the first thing we do. We change our mindset of thinking that everything could be a potential conflict or confrontation, and we bring our calm, loving, open-minded presence. We don't walk in going, oh God, here we go. I bet the shit's going to hit the fan today with my family. Don't bring that energy to your relationship, to your family, to work, to anything. People can feel it when you have that edge and are walking around as if you're ready for an argument or a confrontation. So that's where we start. The second thing we do is we learn how to take a stand for ourselves by focusing on self-love, self-confidence, and being able and willing to speak up for ourselves and take a stand for ourselves. And that means we have to learn the boundary setting process, inform, ask, tell, consequence, and get really comfortable using it. When we do those two things, focus on self-love and taking a stand for ourselves, and feel confident that we absolutely know how to use this boundary process, that's how we stop feeling this low-grade anxiety and that overall ick all the time, because we can finally relax and know that we can and will take care of ourselves and say no to any kind of behavior that's toxic or unconscious or unhealthy or simply doesn't feel good to us. When we know we can do that, we can relax, right? And then we look at peacekeeping and show up in our lives, with our families, with our partners, as a healthy peacekeeper. not the peacekeeper who sweeps things under the rug, not the peacekeeper who isn't speaking up and speaking honestly and truthfully and authentically about what we need and want. That's a codependent or somebody moving into caretaking role. We show up as a peacekeeper, meaning the kind of person who is saying, I will hold peace here, I will hold a calm, loving presence and peaceful presence. When I'm with everyone, I will be responsible for my loving, calm presence when I'm around family, and I may speak up and offer a word of peace, an opportunity to move out of an argument to peace, but it will not be by trying to take care of others, help other people, see what's going on, get overly involved in what's not your business. You will simply hold the energy and space as a peacekeeper committed to that kind of loving presence. That's what we're talking about, okay? So I hope that's been helpful. Sending love to all of you. Glad that you're here. Once again, before I close, please make sure that you share this video with anyone who is really moving through their world with either low-grade anxiety or fear around conflicts, confrontation during the holiday time with friends. If you know that they're feeling anxiety and don't know how to set boundaries, please pass these videos on, this one or any of them, to anybody that you know. And if you know anyone who really needs to work on a boundary process with me, really needs to work on getting out of low-grade anxiety and work on self-love and raising their sense of self-confidence and self-worth, if it's you that I'm speaking to, please book me, for a year, book me for a half a year, or grab my 8-week package and start there. Let's do it now, or if you want to start it at the beginning of the year, at least get a hold of me now so that I can earmark a space for you. Let's jump in. Your life will change in a way that you will not even be able to believe how much calmer and happier you feel, how much more inner freedom you feel if you work on growing your self-esteem and your self-confidence, and also work on being able to set clear, swift, firm boundaries with others. Your life will be 100% different, and I want this for you. So please get a hold of me if you know it's time. Please pass these videos on and share them with anybody that you think they would help. And I will see you guys next week, okay? Peace and blessings to all of you. Sending love.